There is a forgotten ritual inside you older than your name that has been quietly attempting to realign your entire life every time you inhale and exhale. The quantum field around you is not waiting for some future miracle. It is rearranging itself in real time according to the subtle geometry of your breath, your attention, and the stories you keep telling in silence. Somewhere behind your sternum, beneath the noise of worry, an ancient temple of living neurons is awakening, asking whether you are ready to stop surviving your life and begin consecrating it. What if the tremble in your chest, the tightness in your throat, and the hollow in your abdomen are not symptoms of stress, but sacred doorways into a dimension where your entire reality can be rewritten? There is a moment, often missed, when your heartbeat, your thoughts, and the vastness of the cosmos fall into a single rhythm, and in that moment, the ritual begins. Every time you notice a breath you are about to abandon, you are standing at the threshold of a choice that can realign your nervous system, your destiny, and your relationship with the quantum field. The so-called problems in your life may actually be precise invitations encoded by the non-local mind to initiate yourself into a more coherent, luminous version of who you really are. Your brain is not just remembering the past, it is rehearsing futures, and this ancient ritual teaches you how to step out of old neural corridors and walk into a new timeline of peace. There is a sacred choreography between your spine, your breath, and the invisible field around you, and once you learn its rhythm, reality stops resisting you and begins to move with you. When you surrender to this ancient ritual, you no longer try to fix your life from the outside. You allow life itself to realign you from within, one conscious breath, one subtle vibration at a time. There is a silent ritual older than memory that has been performing you, even while you believed you were performing your life. It has been moving through your lungs as breath, through your spine as a faint vertical hush, through your heart as a mysterious rhythm that has never once asked your permission to beat. For years, perhaps decades, you have called this just being alive, but the universe has always known it as initiation. Right now, as you listen, as you feel the subtle textures within your body, this ancient ritual is beginning again. Something is already shifting. Something in you knows that this moment is not ordinary. There is more to this. Without changing anything yet, allow your awareness to drift toward your breath, as if your attention were a soft hand resting over your own chest. You do not have to breathe more deeply. You only need to notice that breathing is already happening. The breath moves in, and your ribs subtly expand. The breath moves out, and your body releases. This simple wave has followed you through sleepless nights, difficult conversations, lonely mornings, when your future looked like a corridor with no doors. You may never have called it sacred, yet it has stayed. Stay with this moment. We have not reached the most important part yet. Begin to sense the inside of your chest, not as a concept, but as living sensation. The slight pressure beneath your sternum, the warmth where your palms would rest, the almost imperceptible vibration that seems to shimmer when you pay attention to it. This is not imagination. This is your nervous system becoming visible to your awareness, the way stars appear when the city lights finally dim. Your heart is acting as a transducer between the quantum field and your biology, turning invisible information into rhythmic electrical signals, creating a coherent orchestra of cells that you call me. When that orchestra loses its rhythm, you feel anxiety, fragmentation, a sense that life is scattered into 1,000 unsolvable pieces. When it finds coherence, a different quality emerges, a deep quiet, a sense of being carried. This ancient ritual realigns your entire life by teaching your heart and brain to remember how to move together. In spiritual neuroscience, we say that your heart generates the strongest rhythmic electromagnetic field in your body, extending far beyond the edges of your skin. Every emotional frequency, fear, awe, resentment, gratitude, modulates that field like music changing its key. Your brain is listening to that music. Your cells are listening to that music. The quantum field around you is responding to that music. Right now, as your awareness enters your chest, you are stepping into the conductor's role. Something is beginning to awaken. Feel the length of your spine, from the base of your pelvis, rising through your lower back, mid-back, upper back, all the way to the base of your skull. Notice where it feels heavy, where it feels locked, where it feels open, where it feels strangely absent. Each segment of your spine is both bone and antenna, carrying signals between your ancient reptilian brain, you, or emotional limbic brain, your thinking cortex, and the vast non-local field in which all of this is floating. When the spine collapses, when we curl inward under the weight of shame, fear, or chronic self-doubt, the signals change. The nervous system starts to encode contraction as normal. The brain wires itself to expect danger. The heart shortens its expansion. Life becomes a ritual of protection instead of a ritual of alignment. But that story is not finished. The most important part has not yet been remembered. Now allow your awareness to drop gently into your abdomen, into the quiet density behind your navel. There might be tightness there, a dull ache, butterflies, a heaviness like unspoken words. This region is not just digestion, it is a second brain, a neural network of more than 100 million cells, your enteric nervous system, recording the emotional history of your life. Every time you swallowed your truth, every time you felt unsafe, every time your body braced for impact, this intelligence center took note. It tightened, it clenched, it reorganized the flow of energy to help you survive. That survival pattern became your posture, your habits, your sense of what was possible. You may have thought, this is just who I am, but it was only who you were when the ritual was incomplete. There is more to this. The ancient ritual that realigns your life does not belong to any culture, religion, or scripture, although fragments of it are scattered through all of them. It is the ritual of conscious participation in your own quantum nature. At its heart, the ritual is simple: breath, awareness, and feeling, brought into coherence with the field of pure potential that has always been embracing you. When awareness meets breath, breath meets sensation, and sensation is allowed to speak in its original language, a doorway opens. You begin to move from being a character inside the story of your life to being the creative consciousness writing the script in real time. Stay with this moment. A deeper truth is about to surface. Notice gently the way thought is moving right now. Perhaps it is trying to analyze these words, categorize them, store them in familiar boxes labeled spiritual, scientific, interesting, or too much. That movement is not a problem. It is simply the cognitive mind doing what it has learned to do. But there is a deeper movement underneath. The subtle recognition that something in these words is not just information but invitation. That recognition arises from the non-local mind, the aspect of your consciousness that is not confined to the skull, not trapped in the history of your personal narrative. The non-local mind is like a vast sky in which this moment, this body, this life are passing weather. The ancient ritual begins when you stop trying to control the sky and start listening to the wind. Ask yourself quietly, without forcing an answer, what if my life is not broken? What if my life is misaligned? What if the relationships that fell apart, the jobs that ended, the restless dissatisfaction that keeps returning are not evidence of failure, but signs that my internal geometry is out of phase with the deeper order of the universe? This question is not meant to trouble you, it is meant to open a door. Every question that carries sincere curiosity releases a small burst of neurochemistry in the brain, a signal that says new possibilities are allowed. In that moment, old neural grooves can loosen. The brain's plasticity, its ability to rewire itself, wakes up. Something is beginning to awaken. Feel again your heartbeat, not as a sound, but as a pulsing presence. Between each beat there is a tiny silence, a gap proportionally vast on the inner scale of experience. In that gap, no thought is required to keep you alive. No effort is required to maintain the choreography of trillions of cells, exchanging signals, oxygen, intention. That gap is the quantum field, appearing as intimacy. The ritual is learning to trust that gap. When you trust it, the nervous system no longer has to anticipate catastrophe in every silence. Instead, silence becomes nourishment. And when silence becomes nourishment, your entire life begins to realign. There is a paradox here, and every paradox is a doorway disguised as confusion. The more you try to fix your life from the outside, the more tightly the old patterns grip your nervous system from the inside. You may change jobs, change relationships, change locations, but if the vibrational signatures in your heart and brain remain the same, the quantum field simply rearranges similar experiences in new costumes. It is like changing the scenery while the underlying script remains unchanged. The ancient ritual does not ask you to rearrange the scenery, it invites you to rewrite the script by shifting the frequency of the observer, that intimate center of awareness you call I. There is more to this. We have not yet reached the most important part. Gently allow your attention to rest at the point between your eyebrows. The inner space some traditions call the third eye, the inner screen, the witnessing center. Notice that awareness can notice thought. Awareness can sense emotion. Awareness can even sense the body sensations of tightness, trembling, dullness, or expansion. This means awareness is not identical to any of these phenomena. It is the field in which they appear. The ancient ritual realigns your life by asking one simple, radical question: who is the one noticing this moment? As that question lingers, your usual identity, made of roles, successes, and wounds, becomes slightly more transparent. You sense that there is a deeper you, spacious, unburdened, quietly observing the drama. This observer is not passive. In quantum theory, the observer and the observed are entangled. The act of observation alters the behavior of particles, collapses probabilities into particular outcomes. In the same way, the quality of awareness you bring to your breath, your memories, your fears, your dreams, changes them. Cold, judgmental awareness solidifies patterns. Warm, curious awareness loosens them. Loving, non-reactive awareness dissolves them back into potential. The ritual is learning to bathe your entire experience in that kind of awareness again and again until the old self has nothing left to cling to. Stay with this. Something within you is listening in a way it has not listened before. There will be a point, perhaps it is already arriving, where the old self begins to crack. You may feel it as a sudden surge of emotion held for years behind the ribs. Tears may arrive without a clear story. Muscles in your jaw, neck, or shoulders may tremble as if thawing from a long winter. Memories may surface of words that hurt, of promises broken, of moments where you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You might think that this is regression, a going backward into old pain. It is not. This is the collapse phase of the ritual, the moment when the nervous system recognizes that it is safe enough to release what was once too overwhelming. The chaos is sacred. There is more to this. Notice how your body responds as these words touch certain places within you. The slight acceleration of your heart when a sentence resonates too deeply to remain just words. The tightening in the belly when you feel the edge of an old defense. The expansion in the chest when something in you whispers, "Yes, this is what I have always known in secret." These are not random reactions, they are somatic intelligences cooperating with the ritual. Neuroplasticity is not just happening in the brain, it is happening as a full body reorganization of tension and flow, of contraction and openness. You are not just thinking differently, you are becoming a different vibration. The relationships in your life may begin to shift as coherence grows within you. Patterns of pleasing over giving or disappearing yourself to maintain peace may feel increasingly impossible to sustain. Words you never spoke may rise to the surface of your throat, carrying both fear and relief. Some connections will deepen as your authenticity signals safety to others, ready to awaken. Some will fall away as your new vibration no longer fits the old agreements. This too is part of the ritual. The quantum field does not support what is incoherent indefinitely. It rearranges circumstances to bring the visible world into resonance with your invisible frequency. Stay with this moment. The story is not ending, it is turning. As the old self dissolves, there can be a strange emptiness. Habits that once defined you, chronic worry, constant self-doubt, compulsive striving, may lose their gravitational pull. Without them, a vast inner space opens, and the mind may panic, rushing to fill it with new projects, new addictions, new identities. But if in that space you return to the ritual, breath, awareness, sensation, you discover that the emptiness is not a void, it is presence. It is the feeling of existing before you attach a story to your existence. It is the non-local mind reintroducing itself as your original home. There is more to this. The most important part is emerging. Now sense your entire body as a single field of vibration, not as separate region, as head, chest, abdomen, limbs, but as one shimmering cloud of sensation from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head. Within this cloud, there are denser areas, lighter areas, warm currents, cooler spaces, zones of numbness like unlit rooms in a house. Do not try to fix them. Simply acknowledge them. By embracing the totality of your internal landscape, you are signaling to your nervous system that all of you is allowed. This unconditional inclusion is the emotional signature of alignment. When your internal world is no longer split into acceptable and unacceptable zones, the brain stops fighting itself. Heart-brain coherence increases, hormones adjust, genes regulating inflammation, stress, and repair receive new instructions. The ritual penetrates down to the level of your cells. In this coherence, intentions begin to carry a different weight. When you set an intention from a fragmented state, it often becomes another strategy to escape the present moment. I will manifest a better future so I do not have to feel this now. The quantum field hears the frequency of avoidance and responds accordingly, keeping fulfillment always a little out of reach. But when intention rises from coherence, a settled heart, a regulated nervous system, a body integrated with its own sensations, the frequency changes. The intention is no longer a demand. It is a declaration of what already exists in the field, waiting to be allowed. Then the ritual becomes creative. Your life begins to reorganize as if guided from the inside by a wisdom you do not need to control. Remember the title that brought you here. This ancient ritual realigns your entire life. It does not promise that circumstances will rearrange according to your old ego's blueprint. Instead, it offers something far more radical, that you may become the kind of presence through which life expresses its deepest harmony, regardless of outer conditions. A quiet expansion behind the sternum, breath remembering itself, spine soft yet upright, abdomen unbraced, mind less noisy, heart more available. These are the first signs of realignment. From this state, choices emerge that were invisible before. A conversation you have been delaying unfolds with unexpected grace. An opportunity you could not have calculated appears in the space you created by letting go. Patterns that felt like destiny reveal themselves as habits, dissolving in the light of awareness. You may ask, how is this different from any other practice, any other method? The difference lies not in the external technique, but in the quality of presence you bring to it. Many rituals are performed unconsciously as repetition, superstition, bargaining with the universe. This ancient ritual is performed by the universe through you. Every time you are willing to feel what you feel, breathe as you breathe, and witness your life without abandoning yourself. The non-local mind, the quantum field, the intelligence of your cells, they are co-conspirators in this. Every time you return to the body in kindness, you reaffirm your membership in the cosmos. Stay with this moment. You are closer to alignment than you have ever been. The nervous system, once constantly braced for impact, begins to trust continuity. Sleep deepens. The startle response softens. Your body no longer reacts to every sound, every notification, every perceived criticism as a potential threat. This is not passivity, this is clarity. From this clarity, you can respond to life rather than reflexively defend against it. The old self, built on hypervigilance, no longer needs to stand guard at the gates. A new self, quieter yet more powerful, takes its place. A self rooted in the awareness that it is not separate from the field that sustains everything. There is more to this, and yet what has already been revealed is enough to begin. Gradually, peace stops being an occasional visitor and becomes the underlying fabric of your days. Not a peace free from challenges, but a peace that moves with them. Your external circumstances may still shift, relationships evolve, careers change, global events arise, but the axis inside you remains. A vertical current of presence from the crown of the head through the heart into the pelvis and down into the earth. You become aware that this axis is not yours alone. It is the same axis around which galaxies spin, the same still point in which all motion finds its origin. To live from this axis is to live the ritual as your natural state. From here, gratitude arises not as obligation but as a spontaneous recognition of how intimately you are woven into everything. The breath in your lungs is shared with trees you will never see. The heartbeat in your chest echoes rhythms older than human history. The neural pathways rewiring themselves in your brain are part of the universe learning to know itself as kindness, as forgiveness, as creative courage. You begin to sense that your healing is not private. It is a contribution to the collective nervous system of our species. Each time you choose alignment over reactivity, you subtly invite others into the same field. The ritual, once hidden inside you, becomes a transmission. Eventually, the question shifts from how do I realign my life to how can my aligned life serve? Service here is not martyrdom. It is the natural overflow of coherence. You speak differently, not to impress, but to express truth more gently and precisely. You listen differently with your whole body, your whole nervous system, receiving not just words, but the unspoken tremors beneath them. You act differently, guided less by fear of scarcity and more by a quiet intuition that emerges from the gut, rises through the heart, and is clarified in the mind. In these moments, you can feel the quantum field nodding, as if saying, yes, this is what you came here for. And yet, even in this clarity, the ritual continues. There will still be days of contraction, moments of forgetfulness, hours where old patterns knock at the door. But now you recognize them not as failures, but as invitations to recommit. You return to the breath, to the chest, to the spine, to the abdomen, to the heartbeat, to the tingling, to the muscle memory of awakening. Each return strengthens the new pathways. Each return teaches the nervous system that safety is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of awareness in the midst of it all. Stay with this moment. Something has already been reborn. As this monologue comes to a close, notice what is alive in you, not as an evaluation, but as an intimate inventory of sensation and emotion. Perhaps there is a slight warmth spreading through the chest. Perhaps the jaw has softened, the eyes feel heavier yet clearer, the breath moves with less effort. Perhaps there is a tremble of uncertainty mixed with a subtle joy, a rising certainty that you are not who you were when you began listening. This is the evidence that the ritual has already begun to work. Your life is realigning, not out there in some distant future, but here, in this breath, in this body, in this awareness that is hearing these words. The universe does not need you to be perfect. It invites you to be present. In that presence, the ancient ritual that has always been beating your heart, moving your breath, repairing your cells, and whispering through your intuition becomes conscious. You realize that you are not learning a new practice. You are remembering an old agreement to show up fully in this life, in this body, as this unique vibration of the cosmos, and to let that vibration grow more coherent, more compassionate, more luminous with every breath you consciously take. That is how this ancient ritual realigns your entire life, from the inside out, from the quantum to the cellular, from the invisible to the visible, from the first breath you truly notice to the last breath you surrender back to the field. Remain here just for one more moment as yourself. No roles, no masks, no performance. Only breath, heartbeat, awareness, and the immeasurable silence holding them all. In this stillness, know without needing proof that something essential in you has turned toward home and will not turn back. The ritual will continue each time you remember this place. The alignment will deepen each time you trust this presence, and your life, in ways seen and unseen, will keep rearranging itself around the truth of who you really are.